Hello, I'm Dr. Gregory Mauck, so thanks for joining me today. You know, of all the people of the 19th century we think about, Andrew Carnegie seems to be the person that exemplifies most what we think of as the great American dream. He was born in 1835 in Fife County, Scotland, and immigrated at the age of 12 to Pennsylvania with his parents. Now, his parents were quite poor, so by 13, he was working in a cotton mill 72 hours a week. But he was always proud he started and worked his way up from the bottom. By the time he was 15, he had gotten the job as a telegraph messenger, which was the point that he felt like was really his biggest step up in life. That by delivering these messages to important men, he came to know those important men, and they inspired him and helped him to understand that he was never going to get ahead in life just being a cog in someone else's wheel. By 18, he was working for the Pennsylvania Railroad. By 21, he was running the entire western line of the Pennsylvania Railroad. During the time with the railroad, he began to invest. He invested in the railroad, he invested in Pullman Sleeping Car Company, the nascent oil industry. So by the time he was 30, he'd built up the capital he needed to go out on his own. So we think of Carnegie Steel as the number one thing, but he also owned a bridge company and he was well diversified in other things. Now, one thing that's important to remember is that during the 19th century, a lot of businesses, including his, their businesses were driven by the growth of the railroad. So for him, the railroads not only used a lot of steel, which they did, but they also opened up new areas to investment. And so then those areas would need steel. So it worked out for him. But something else that's important to remember is the use of ideas to grow his business. And the great idea that he used in his steel business was the Bessemer process. And the Bessemer process allowed him to produce steel that was much stronger and cleaner, but also cheaper. So that provided huge dividends for him and allowed him to outcompete the marketplace. So by the time he was in his 60s, he was an extremely wealthy man. He sold out to J.P. Morgan, and at that point in life, he was the richest man on earth. At that point, he really wanted to do philanthropy for two reasons. He wanted to help people, but he also wanted to get rid of this wealth, which he felt was much more of a burden than it could ever be a blessing to his heirs. So he started funding things. And so we still see that today. We see that in small towns with the Carnegie libraries. We see that with Carnegie Hall. We see that with Carnegie Mellon University. By the time he passed away, Carnegie had given away over 90% of his wealth. So that was great. That was wonderful. There's another side to the coin here, though. He, as where he was in the early 20th century, he, along with a lot of other big business people, big government people, became infected with the progressive virus of that day, which was big government, and big government as a beneficial institution, which we know today it's not. He was able to earn his income during a time of the 19th century when the government pretty much left him alone and was very pro-entrepreneurial and very pro-private property. By the early 19th century, this progressive virus had built in a feeling of the government knows better than you what to do with your money. So if you don't use it, we're going to take it from you. We're going to take it from you with confiscatory property or estate taxes, confiscatory progressive income taxes. And so Carnegie grew his wealth during a time that was more like what John Locke tells us the government's supposed to do, to protect you and to protect your private belongings. But then by the early 20th century, he took up with the ideas a lot of people at that time, including Teddy Roosevelt, that the government knows better than you do, which we know is a very destructive idea. Thank you.